Of the Africa Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi has transformed the bank into a globally recognized institution for financial, which has positively impacted over 500 million people. He has launched the Africa Investment Forum, mobilizing over $200 billion in investments in Doctor. He is graciously awarded the Chief of the Golden Heart. Congratulations. To join in while we all hold our position. Perhaps we should give him a Maasai name.
When His Excellency William Ruto was then appointed as the Agricultural Minister, I asked for an urgent meeting with him. You need to know something about this man, the then Minister Ruto, now President Ruto of this country. He is a man of action. He is relentless, and he will push until he gets things done, but he does get it done. He did not wait to visit with me, for me to visit with him at the Kilimo House. He made his way to my own office and met me there at 7:30 in the morning. That was how collectively myself and him, we developed and rolled out what is called the Kilimo Plus program to provide subsidized farm inputs for over 2.5 million poor farmers in the country. We went even further, myself and the President, then Minister Ruto, when I was at Agra, developed and rolled out what is called the Kilimo Biashara program, which provided financial guarantees, facilities for banks across this country to reduce the risk of lending by commercial banks to Kenya. It worked to Kenyan farmers. It worked so well that it was supported. It supported many banks, such as Equity Bank, working with James Mwangi to rapidly expand their lending to the agricultural sector, from its humble beginning to becoming what it is today, for which I am very, very proud. And Mr. President, thank you for your tenacity at that time, because without your support and tenacity, this will not have happened. And I know, Mr. President, you are very passionate about supporting women. And I fully agree with you, and I salute your leadership, because no bird can fly with one wing. I am convinced that when women win, Kenyans win. When women win, Africa wins. Yes, challenges may be here today, but let's keep hope alive. Kenya will grow. Kenya will thrive. Kenya will prosper. I believe that the future will be bright for the youth of Kenya. And that is why the African Development Bank is currently preparing for our board's approval financial support to Kenya for the establishment of the Youth Entrepreneurship Investment Bank of Kenya. This will be a standalone financial institution with 100% dedication to providing technical assistance, debt and equity financing for the businesses of the youth of Kenya. When I earlier discussed this with His Excellency President Ruto, we were both at an airport lounge in Dubai. Both of us coming from different trips. He said to me, Adeshina, as he always calls me, I want this in Kenya like yesterday. And true to his words, within 48 hours, I received a formal letter of request from President Ruto for the African Development Bank to support the establishment of the Youth Entrepreneurship Investment Bank of Kenya. So to the youths of Kenya, you are not alone. The African Development Bank and our partners will work very closely with President Ruto and the government to boost opportunities for the youth in Kenya. Working with President Ruto and the government of Kenya, the goal is simple: build youth-based wealth in Kenya, as the President told me. So as you can see, Mr. President, today, my heart has always been in Kenya. I am therefore immensely honored by you, President Ruto, that you are conferring on me today, and you have conferred on me today, Kenya's highest and most distinguished honor, the Chief of the Order of the Golden Heart, CGH. The African Development Bank financed and was the lead mandatory arranger for the 310 megawatts Lake Turkana project, which is the largest wind farm in Africa. The bank also financed the 105 megawatts Menengai geothermal power plant for the advancing Kenya's leadership in geothermal development in Africa. For power transmission, the bank provided $106 million for the recently completed Ethiopia-Kenya electricity highway project. The African Development Bank is supporting several road and transport projects that are improving regional connectivity, trade, and reducing travel costs for the population. Let me mention just a few. Take, for example, right here in Nairobi, the bank is proud to have provided $107 million for the rehabilitation of the 13 kilometers Nairobi Outer Ring Road, turning it from a single lane to a dual carriageway, including service roads, grade-separated intersections, pedestrian foot overbridges, walkways, bicycle lanes, while providing secondary access to the Kenyatta International Airport. The bank co-financed the $175 million expansion of the Thika-Nairobi Road, expanding it into a 6- and 8-lane highway. This has drastically reduced travel time from 2 to 3 hours to just 30 to 45 minutes. The bank has approved $852 million for the ongoing regional integration operations in Kenya. This includes Bagamoyo, Tanga, Horohoro, Lunga, Malindi Road, connecting, Mr. President, Kenya and Tanzania. We are supporting Kapchowa, Swam, Kitale Road, connecting Kenya and Uganda, as well as the Lesuru, Kitale roads, connecting Kenya and South Sudan. The bank financed the construction of the Addis Ababa-Nairobi-Mombasa highway that has reduced travel time between Ethiopia and Kenya from 3 days to less than 24 hours and has helped to expand trade between the two countries by 400%. The bank co-financed the dualization of the 84 kilometers Kenol-Sagna-Marua highway, part of the Kenyan section of the Trans-Africa Highway running from Cape to Cairo. Our support of $31 million for the Tibora-Eldoret Road rehabilitation project, part of the Northern Corridor, provides transport routes connecting Kenya, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, East Congo, and Southern Sudan. Mr. President, you are very passionate about water and sanitation. When I visited with you in May of last year, right here at the State House, when you graciously hosted the African Development Bank's annual meetings, you passionately requested of me that the bank expand support for water and sanitation in the country. Mr. President, I am pleased to let you know that the bank is providing $634 million now towards the Kenya Town's sustainable water supply and sanitation project. This includes 315 million euros for the construction of the Twake multipurpose water dam, expected to be completed in July of 2026 under your presidency. When completed, it will provide 150,000 cubic meters of water per day and to about 1.3 million people in Kitui and Makwiny counties, as well as Konsa Techno City in Machakos County. Mr. President, the bank is strongly supporting your efforts in private sector in Kenya. This includes the provision of $700 million in lines of credit to more than 8 commercial banks, including the Equity Bank Group, the Commercial Bank, Diamond Trust Bank, the Credit Bank, Commercial Bank of Africa, Family Bank, and the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company. I know, Mr. President, because I pray for you all the time, I know that Kenya faces a huge challenge with high unemployment for its youth, as manifested in several youth riots that shook Kenya. Unemployment is especially high among Kenya's well-educated youth. They demand support for skills upgrade, finance to build their businesses, and social protection as well as inclusion in governance systems. To support you as you support the youth of Kenya, the African Development Bank is providing $309 million for ongoing projects targeting skills development for the youth. This includes the support for technical and vocational education that has already benefited 88,000 young people in Kenya. Mr. President, the African Development Bank's flagship program for supporting the financing of women, the Affirmative Finance Action for Women in Africa, otherwise called AFAWA, has already provided a total of $177 million in loans for 3,177 women-owned businesses. As the president of the African Development Bank, I am proud that my colleagues and I have been running with Kenya and scoring development goals with Kenya. Kenya has, Mr. President, a special place in the history of the African Development Bank since its establishment in 1964. The very first project ever financed by the African Development Bank was right here in Kenya in 1967, and that's 58 years ago. The first one links Eldoret to Tororo in Uganda, laying the foundations for a transport infrastructure that drives commerce between the countries of the Great Lakes and the Indian Ocean regions. The second road, which connects Nairobi to Kilimanjaro region in Tanzania, has become a major trunk road for commerce and tourism between both countries. Since 1964, Mr. President, the bank has financed a total of 167 projects with financial commitment of $7.8 billion US. But I am especially proud of what we have done in and for Kenya over the past 10 years since I was first elected president of the African Development Bank in 2015. Since I was elected president, the bank has financed a total of 57 projects with a total financing commitment of $4.44 billion US. That means, Mr. President, we did in the past 10 years under my presidency, 57% of all of the African Development Bank's financing in Kenya over the last 60 years. And I must tell you how special Kenya is to me. The African Development Bank's current portfolio consists of 45 projects worth $4.1 billion. And these projects, Mr. President, are having huge impacts across Kenya. For example, the bank supported last mile connectivity project for electricity has helped to increase the population of Kenyans connected to the national electricity grid from 41% in 2014 to 76% in 2024. Put simply, the electricity connections increased from 2.42 million households to 9.7 million households. Many of you may not know that the bank helped to make this happen. You are not alone. On one of my field trips to the Rift Valley together with Cabinet Secretary then at the time, Charles Kitter, we walked down a dusty road in one of the villages that benefited from the last mile connectivity project. Right in front of us was an elderly woman whose name was Grace, not my Grace, that's my wife. She was asked by the Cabinet Secretary if she knows the African Development Bank funded the connection of our village and other villages and households to the electricity grid. She said, "I do not know the African Development Bank." When further asked if she knows Dr. Adeshina, the president of the African Development Bank, she said, "No, I do not know him, and where is he?" Of course, I was right beside her. She then said, "All I know is that we once were in darkness, and now we have light." Your Excellency, President Ruto, I am most grateful to you, sir, for your conferring on me today the prestigious honor of the Chief of the Order of Golden Heart, CGH, Kenya's highest and most distinguished honor. I am greatly humbled by your incredible kindness. What a great honor. What a rare privilege. What a historic recognition. Thank you, thank you, thank you, Your Excellency, Mr. President. It is such a joy to be back here with my dear wife and your sister, Grace, in Kenya, a nation that I love, and to be in the State House with a president who is my dearest brother and friend. They say home is where your heart will always be. I consider Kenya as my home. After all, I lived and worked here. in this beautiful country for about 9 years, starting from my days working with the Rockefeller Foundation and the Alliance for a Green Revolution in Africa, AGRA. I have been back here ever since, so I can claim to have been working in and on Kenya for at least 20 years. The friendship between myself and His Excellency President RUTO goes way back over those 20 years. As we say in Kenya, tumetoka mbali, we have come from far. Yes, we have come from far, Mr. President, since you were a much younger Minister of Agriculture under the then government of President Y. Kibaki. Your predecessor, former President Kenyatta, was then the Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. I recall the very frequent and engaging discussions between us on how to improve the quality of life of Kenyans. From seminars to workshops and conferences, we engaged intensely. I was not just working in Kenya, I was a Kenyan by mind, heart, and soul as I immersed myself in this beautiful country of Kenya.
This year, we are, with your support and other development partners, we have 63 billion shillings for our last mile connectivity and rural electrification, on the way to connecting 1 million more households, again by 2027. So that whole program that we started with, dignifying people with electricity, eliminating the challenges of use of alternative sources of energy, it speaks volumes about our development as Kenya. Water harvesting, water storage, irrigation is the next horizon, especially in the context of climate change. We need to store more water, we need to harvest more water, we need more dams, and we need space that will enable us to deal with that. I am very proud, my brother, that you kindly and graciously accepted to support our water infrastructure development. Again, thank you very much. It's because of you that I developed passion for agriculture. And as you have said correctly, it was always something to think about, how farmers can do more with less. And that is when we discussed subsidies for our farmers. And I remember you said then many people did not believe in subsidies. And as you've described very ably, it was difficult even to process it within government. But as you've said, with my peers then, Romano Kiome, we went out of our way. And I remember going to Harambee House to see the then President Mwai Kibaki when I was Minister for Agriculture, and to tell him that we now can subsidize farmers. We have found a mechanism to subsidize farmers. And President Kibaki was skeptical. He told me, is it really possible, Minister? And after moments of conversation and persuasion, he said, yes, okay, let's go and see. And then we organized a meeting in a place called Moy's Bridge. And for the first time, we started to subsidize inputs for farmers. And let me tell you, my good brother, President Odesina, that ever since I became president, I brought back the subsidy program on our maize, wheat, tea, coffee, sugarcane. And today I can proudly say, because of the government's program on subsidy of fertilizer and farm inputs, including seeds, Kenya has seen tremendous increase in our productivity. The second item that I am very proud of your support and that of the Africa Development Bank is our road infrastructure. You have said it yourself, that the dualing of Thika superhighway, And just for your information, now that road is all the way to Maroa in Nyeri. The road now has been dualed from where you left it by the support of your great organization. Now it went to Thika, Thika to Kenol. It was picked up from Kenol, now all the way to Nyeri. In fact, later this month, I will be inspecting that road and the wonderful interchanges that have been rolled out and supporting the whole transport network of that section of Kenya. The project you have said that connects Kenya and Bagamoyo, Horohoro, that comes all the way to Malindi. I was in Mombasa a few weeks ago, and I was inspecting that road. It's funded both by yourself, sections by yourself, and sections by the European Investment Bank. And others, I want to tell you, we are making very good progress. Just for the record again, I was in Kitale last weekend. And the road you're supporting from Lesero to Kitale, and eventually connecting to Takwel, we will be advertising that road in the next few months. All the notes have been completed. And just to tell you that we're making progress on that road as well. And on all the other pieces of infrastructure that are going on in Kenya on the road sector. We have 150,000 houses being constructed in Kenya. We have close to 260,000 young people working in our housing program across Kenya. Last week, I launched several housing projects that will hire many young people, engineers, architects, quantity surveyors, masons, carpenters, electricians, plumbers, and everybody in between. That program, again, you supporting the mortgage end makes that program much more viable. Last year in 2024, we produced 70 million bags of maize, up from 40 million bags of maize in 2022. Last year, tea crossed the 200 billion. In fact, we sold tea worth 220 billion for the first time, because again, we subsidize fertilizer for Kenya Tea Development Authority and all the other tea makers. Let me also tell you that this year was the highest earnings by our coffee farmers. And that speaks volumes of what supporting farmers and supporting production are supposed to supporting or subsidizing consumption, how much difference it makes. And so I am very proud that the journey we started together 10 years ago, today I can see its fruits, and the people of Kenya can feel the impact of what that is doing. On my own behalf and on behalf of the government and people of Kenya, this morning, I welcome you, my brother, to Nairobi, your other home. Congratulations. This morning, I am very proud to be the president that confers on you this well-deserved honor of the people of Kenya. It's an honor that I have the privilege as president, but on behalf of the government and people of Kenya, to award you for the distinguished service, the commitment you have demonstrated, and the passion you have worked with to see to it that in every way, even before you became the president of the African Development Bank, you demonstrated your commitment and your passion for our country. My brother, Adesina, I want to say thank you very much.